Welcome ladies and gentlemen to a very special casted game, and today we're going to be checking out two new civilizations, the Ottomans and the Malians, and this is going to be one of the very first games that Beastyqt has played with the Malians on the west side of this map in yellow, and on the east side his opponent today will be Numadan playing in green as the Ottomans. The map is Dry Arabia. As you can see, there's a new biome and we're playing on the Mediterranean biome, so it's looking very nice here on Dry Arabia, with a Mediterranean kind of vibe to things on the graphics, that's for sure. So, two new civilizations. I'm going to be open and honest with you guys. There's lots to learn, there's lots to see, lots of new units. It's going to be tricky understanding the new meta that's going to be slowly unfolding, but what better way than seeing it firsthand by watching two top quality players in action. And we'll be taking a very close look at the units that can be built. We might miss a few things here and there in terms of the casting, in terms of trying to understand what's going on, because the new units, new mechanics, new buildings, everything. But I'm super excited to go through this experience with you. Just a word of warning or caution, you might be wondering why some of these villagers are speaking English, or at least what the English civilization would say. And that's purely because on the preview version of this new DLC, the developers haven't yet updated the language and the vocals for these units, so just bear that in mind. Everything else has been kind of fixed and sorted out and looking very sharp and good. But it's just the audio of the villagers speaking and the units speaking that will be a little bit different than you'd expect, as we now see the Malians being played by Beastyqt heading towards that wood line, going to gold as well. Now I believe, I'm not sure if it's the Malians or the Ottomans, but they can actually build a mine on this gold to passively generate gold. Looks like he's going to go for a traditional build though, with 3 villages and gold, getting some sheep here nice and early. Looks like he's gone for the 1 scout. As it does look like Beastyqt now going to age up to the next stage. We're going to be learning the landmarks as well, so we shall see what he decides to build. It looks like it's the Mansa quarry. Let's take a bit of a closer look at this, shall we, ladies and gentlemen. It generates 75 gold per minute. And it can be toggled to generate stone instead, so it can produce gold or stone in a passive way, and that's actually pretty cool if you think about it. And that's going to be going on throughout the whole game, and that actually seems pretty nice, because it means you don't have to have as many villagers on those resources. But yeah, we've got a message in chat. Yusuf, yeah, absolutely. It is the English voices in the placeholder, so the developers will obviously update that in the full version of the DLC. This is a preview, of course, as you guys may know. And so just bear that in mind. But here's some music in the background. I think it's the Malians music. Can you guys hear that? It sounds pretty good to me. But yeah, because it's a preview version of the game, most of the things will be pretty finalized. But as you said, Yusuf, is the case that the villagers are speaking what the English civilization would be. But an interesting landmark here. Mansa Quarry generates 75 gold per minute. That's a pretty decent amount. That's the equivalent of, well, a villager will collect roughly 40 of a resource per minute. So it's effectively 2 villagers per minute. But if you think about it, that's for the whole entirety of the game. I mean, 2 villagers per minute? That's a decent amount. But then don't forget, it is kind of infinite as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Getting a bolster of 2 villagers is not too bad, I guess, in a way. Pretty nice and safe. The Sultan Hani trade network for the Ottomans acts as a market, comes with 2 traders garrisoned, and generates 28 gold per minute for each one. Up to 6 traders can be garrisoned. That sounds pretty cool. It sounds like a better landmark than what the Malians get in terms of long-term resource gathering. But of course, this can't be toggled between stone and gold. It just generates 28 gold per minute. It does act as a market as well. For trading could be pretty cool. And you can actually get traders to garrison inside. Presumably the traders can actually do the traditional thing of actually going to the markets as well. Should be able to. Listen to the music, pretty cool. Hello Golden Royal in the chat, welcome. So if you're watching this as a VOD later on after the stream, you know, this is a live stream, so we'll be engaging with chat on occasions. It's a really nice way to do things at times. Of course, you've probably seen a lot of my offline content as well. And so if you're just wondering who I'm talking to, it is the chat. As we see villagers going onto stone there for Beastyqt, 6 of them looking to get that second town centre. And then pile on some pressure economically, at least against Numadan. Do the Ottomans have their dialogue yet? Or do they also have temporary speak English? Let's just check. Let's check that. Let's have a look. That is a good question there by Yusuf. No, they also have the placeholder of the English language, I'm afraid. It would be pretty cool to see how that develops. Hello, Carlos Roberto. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. I assume Microsoft is going to the same route as they did with Aoe4 DLC. What do you mean by the same route? As in, it's free. So if you're thinking of the question of whether you have to pay for the DLC, which you did have to for Age of Empires 2, no. Age of Empires 4, this DLC is absolutely free for everyone who owns the game, which is, I mean, for me, is an incredible thing. Like, when you think about it, it's really, really good because, I mean, you just got 2 new civilizations for free, right? Microsoft could have said, oh, you know, we're going to be putting it behind a paywall, which, you know, with Age of Empires 2 is a bit different, you know, because it's such an old game that I suspect it, and it's not even that expensive, to be fair, for Age of Empires 2, the DLC, in all honesty. But Age of Empires 4, they're doing it for free, you know? If they slapped a $10, $15 price tag on it, you know, it wouldn't have been the most unreasonable thing. But they're doing it for free, so hats off to them. As the second town centre does come up for Numadan as well in the north. Lex Whitlocks, welcome to the stream. Thank you for showing the games. Nope, you're very welcome. I'm excited to show the case these games and just enjoy the content with you guys because I'm learning about the civilizations. As you guys know, I've been casting a lot of games recently, and what's the best way to learn the civilizations? It's just about casting them, I guess. And we're going to be getting a stable up here for Beastyqt, double stable coming down. And this is the pit mine. This is what we were talking about. Beastyqt going for the pit mine for the Malians. Must be built on a gold vein, but it generates 30 gold per minute without depleting the deposit. I mean, it's not bad. 30 gold per minute, again, is about the equivalent of... It's just under 1 villager per minute. It's the equivalent of having just under 1 villager. But the fact is, it's an infinite amount of gold. And that, for me, is pretty cool. But it says gold extraction rate of open pit mines is increased by 25% for each house or mining camp built within the influence. Holy moly, wait. The gold extraction rate for the open pit mines is increased by 25%. So it starts off as a basic 30 gold per minute, but then it increases by 25% per house. And this is quite nice for the base building aspect of things. So you get a mining camp, villagers still mining as well. Presumably this gold pit doesn't deplete, so those villagers can be mining gold forever, and gold extraction is increased by 25%. Now the question is that gold extraction only for the pit itself, or is it for the villagers as well? Because if it's for the villagers as well, then that's actually a really, really interesting bonus. It's quite difficult to calculate, I'm sure, but I mean, effectively, if you have 4 villagers, then you effectively have another one, right? 5th one, on top of the passive generation it has, which is super interesting. Okay, we'll have to do some testing with that. I'm sure someone like Age of Noob might do that. When the Ottomans get their own dialogue, I wouldn't be surprised to hear words similar to that of the Aoe2's Turks and Aoe3 versions of the Ottomans. Yeah, I suspect so. I don't know about too much in terms of history, in terms of the time period it's set in, but I suspect it will be. Couple of scouts there. Oh, there's a software there for the Malians, played by Beastyqt. A unique unit to them, of course. Cheaper, heavy cavalry for reduced health and armor. Has a high movement speed, cheaper cost. Strong in melee combat, but it's countered by spearmen and crossbowmen. But it's strong in melee combat, so it's a little bit weird. I guess it's probably going to be decent against ranged units, I suppose, in a way. But I want to see about this movement speed, because it says it's got a high movement speed. It's got 1.73 versus a scout, 1.60. Wait a minute. These dudes are fast. They move faster than the scouts do. I guess they're kind of like horsemen, maybe. The question is, how fast do horsemen move? As you see, a couple of spearmen here going to be pushing back that scout. Beasty will lose that scout. He does lose it indeed, and the Soft are going to head down towards the south again. And we are toggled on Numadan's point of view, so let's take a look at this Vizier as he's being harassed here on the gold vein. Let's focus on this fight again, actually, I suppose. Beasty going to be losing quite a bit of HP. Doesn't take a villager kill there. Anyway, Viziers. Earn up to 5 Vizier points to spend on unlocking powerful, unique Ottoman bonuses. Experience is gained by training units and advancing to the next stage. The higher the cost of the action, the more experience is earned. Click to open the Vizier panel and spend your points. Okay, so you're going to spend them here. Holy moly. Okay, so to get an Imperial Council, is that something you had to build? Is that something you had to build? It doesn't appear so. It doesn't appear that Numadan actually had to build an Imperial Council. So it seems like you just start off with that. Let's take a look at some of the text though. Field work. Spawn 2 imams at the landmark town centre. Imams area heal nearby units for 1 health per second. Okay, well fair enough. You get 2 free imams, and that's kind of cool. That'd be kind of nice to go up to the castle to pick up some relics and whatnot. Mehter drums. Spawn 1 Mehter at the landmark town centre. Mehters increase movement speed to units in the same formation by 15%. So the first tier is kind of unlocking, or the first vizier is unlocking a couple of units here. Spawns 8 sheep in the landmark town center. Increase villager mining speed by 10%. Oh, come on. I mean, if you're going to want to get this, like if you're going to want to spend this level, surely you're going to go for this one, right? Like this is just crazy compared to the others. Would you rather have 1 mehter, 2 imams, or have 8 sheep and also increase the villagers mining speed by 10%? I mean, come on. That's a no-brainer for me, and it feels like it anyway. Unless you're that desperate for a mehter. Or 2 imams. I don't think it's worth it. The other two. We'll also see a couple of units here engaging. Looks like Sofa versus Sipahi. Let's take a look at the Sipahi. Fast cavalry, effective at raiding, flanking and countering ranged units. Has the ability to attack faster whilst also taking additional damage from melee sources. High movement speed. Strong against ranged units, weak against melee units, countered by spearmen. So these guys are going to be pretty decent against ranged units, probably crossbows and archers alike, as the Sofa do turn around and engage. Golden Royal, welcome to the channel. I wonder if this DLC makes me want to give Aoe4 another try. Well, to be honest with you, the DLC is looking good, but generally the game itself and the patches that it's gone through, I'll be totally honest with you. When the game was launched, a lot of things were wrong. They weren't very good. Things were just not optimal. I don't think they possibly had the best launch, but things have really changed now. By the way, if you already own the game, then definitely give it a try, because things have changed. The balance is so much better. There aren't that many game-breaking bugs at all. Actually, I can think of, not game-breaking ones anyway. And the community is pretty friendly, pretty nice, and ladder games are pretty cool. Seasons 1 and 2 have been really good. Season 3 is coming up with the new DLC, as we do see these units coming in. These are Sofa, I think, yep. Going to be starting to torch down that outpost. And you can choose player colors. There's lots of quality of life features. Hotkeys. That's something you'd probably be quite keen to hear about if you haven't been keeping up. Hotkeys have been kind of remappable now, so you can remap them to your other Age of Empires 4 games, other Age of Empires franchise games rather. With this Age of Empires 2, if you played that game, you want to keep the same sort of hotkeys. You can't get it perfectly exactly, but you get it pretty decently, so it's not too bad. We're missing something here on the west side. A couple of Sipahi going underneath the town centre. I know that we're not necessarily having the most high quality casting in terms of action and keeping up with what's happening, but it's because we need to learn what these units do, and this is quite an interesting unit. It looks like it's going to be quite good at raiding because of the high movement speed. Has the ability to attack faster whilst also taking additional damage from melee sources. So yeah, certainly going to be maybe decent against for raiding because of the movement speed, but we'll have to have a look at that as the games go on. As we see villagers coming out of Numadan on the south, going to be raided by the Sofa, 2 of them with high movement speed. And the thing is, the villagers can't really escape too quickly, even with wheelbarrow. They're not dishing out that much damage though. I mean, sure, it's only 2 Sofa. These guys don't seem that strong. They do definitely seem kind of halfway between a horseman and a knight. Can either civs hunt boar? Now, that's an interesting question. I actually don't know the answer to that. I'm almost certain I wouldn't have thought I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty confident the Ottomans won't be able to. I mean, historically, it's sort of, you know, an Islamic religion-based civilization. So I'd be super surprised if these guys. I mean, no, they've even got the flag, right? There's no way these guys can take the boar. Not the Ottomans, I wouldn't have thought. The Malians, I'm not so sure. I suspect they may have some Muslim heritage. I don't know that much about the Malians, so there's something we might have to keep an eye on. I don't think they can either, but I'm not 100% sure. As we see a big engagement here with a couple of archers in behind for Beastyqt with the Sofa in front. Palisade walls get deleted because there are quite a few spearmen with Sipahi here for the Ottomans looking to push this back, and it looks like Numadan will push this back as we are almost possibly heading towards Castle Age for Numadan. He's got the gold, doesn't really have the food he needs though, so takes the engagement here. Beastyqt just kind of back and forth against the spears. The spears are hard in the spear. I'm going to be clearing up the archers, and Beastyqt trades those archers to be able to get back home. And Beastyqt now has gone to the Castle Age. Let's take a look at what landmark he's gone for. He's gone for the Grand Fulani Coral. It's unique to the Malians. Nearby cattle provide 20 food per minute. Wait, nearby cattle. So he's going to build cattle ranches. I guess this is the equivalent to their farms in a way. Looks like they can garrison But how does he get cattle here? That's the question. How does he get the cattle here in the first place? Do the cattle spawn, maybe? I suspect the cattle spawn. But that's something we can't really tell here on the user interface in terms of watching. I think you kind of have to play. Maybe you can toggle it. Oh, yes, there we are. Look at that. So you can produce the cattle, but they cost 100 gold. Okay, interesting, interesting. Cattle provide food that can be gathered by villagers. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Let's just focus on this fight for now, but that's super interesting to look at. I want to take another look at that. There's not a lot going on there. Looks like Beasty will hold that off. But anyway, let's focus on this. So the cattle ranch, it's like a farm or I guess the pasture for the Mongols. And you can train or kind of buy the cattle, as it were. Deposit them in the ranch. And it generates 28 food per minute. But you can also harvest the food. You can also harvest the food because... with villagers, I suspect. Because look, cattle provide food that can be gathered by villagers. That is a really super interesting mechanic. Okay, that's really cool. We just saw a cattle garrison there. Technically, if he wanted, he could take the cattle with the villagers. But if he takes the cattle with the villagers, obviously he doesn't get the garrisoning passive bonus or passive income. Oh my god, there's so much to work out with these new civilizations. Super exciting though. As we see now, Numadan going up to the third age of the castle age with the Istanbul Imperial Palace. Unique to the Ottomans, of course, double the Imperial Council experience around the landmark and increase the Vizier point limit by +2. Let's take a look at the Vizier points that Numadan is getting then at the moment. He's also gone for... this is what's going on here. Beastyqt applying on some pressure, but let's take a look at the second tier almost for the Viziers. It's gone for increased military schools that can be built by 1. Okay, so the military schools, we're going to have to talk about those. Allow siege engines to be garrisoned by infantry. Wait a minute. Whilst garrisoned, the attack and setup speed is increased by 25%. Wait a minute. Is that all siege units? So could you get like a bombard, the Great Bombard, and get units garrisoned there? We'll focus on the fight though, because we do see some Janissaries coming out for the Ottomans. Numadan heading with some Janissaries, followed with the spears acting as a meat shield. A couple of archers, veteran archers there for Beastyqt, will be focused firing on the Janissaries. The spears engage against the Sofa, but it looks like there's a lot of veteran Sofa there. Looks like the archer's going to pick apart the spearmen. This is a problem for Numadan because if he loses the spearman mass, which he will, the Sofa will start to double down on the archers that he has remaining. It doesn't look like he has any more Janissaries now. The economy here for Numadan very exposed. Beastyqt heading forward. He's got a lot of economy behind this, I suspect. 87 villages for Numadan, 87 for Beasty, so relatively equal, but Numadan taps out. Beastyqt wins the first game that he has played on the new civilization, the Malians, versus the Ottomans. And we've seen so much today in this one game. I hope you guys did enjoy this casted game. If you're watching live on the stream, stick around, we'll be casting many more games. But if you're watching this as a VOD, as a separate video, hope you guys did enjoy the video. And if you did, do give it a thumbs up. And if you are interested in more Age of Empires 4 casted games, consider subscribing to the channel. We've got loads more Age of Empires 4 content coming up. But if you're watching as a VOD, take care and see you next time. Let's carry on the live stream.